Right, so good day class. So today we're gonna discuss about monitoring and evaluation. So I think during the midterms, I already provided you with I think it's a monitoring tool which will be submitting towards the end of the term also. So let's talk about monitoring and evaluation. So when you talk about monitoring and evaluation, it is a group of activities and indicators to measure a project's ongoing success in relation to clearly defined outputs. It allows you to assess project progress and achievements in line with your objectives. Then, monitoring evaluation offers a tangible way to ensure that your project is accountable, transparent, minimize collateral damage, and actively identify wasteful processes and poor performance. So I think monitoring and evaluation class is also a form of feedback towards your performance if you wish to improve further. So in line with this, you really need to have your objectives also for your community development project. I think this is also true when you're doing your thesis. If you don't monitor and evaluate what you have been doing, then I don't think you'll be able to come up with a good thesis topic or a good design. So why is monitoring and evaluation important? Is that communities are seldom interested in monitoring and are primarily concerned with getting things done. I think this is particularly true here in the Philippines. We Filipinos are more interested in getting things done than in monitoring the progress of the work that we are doing. But because of that, we tend to miss the important learning that when you monitor and evaluate, you'll be able to improve yourself further when you encounter similar problems in the future. Now, however, there are multiple reasons why it's useful to measure progress and evaluate its efforts. First is to keep people involved and informed about the progress, to better manage policies, programs, and projects, to measure the performance of an organization or an intervention, to determine if the program is a success or a failure, to learn and document the experience, to determine the failures and correct it, to establish accountability and transparency to supporters and funders, to gain more support for future endeavors. So, monitoring. So, it occurs throughout the project to ensure you are meeting your objectives. It provides direct insight into the activity's impacts. Then it tracks movement of indicators towards the achievement of specific predetermined targets. It clarifies also the program objectives. It links activities and their resources to objectives. It translates objectives into performance indicators and sets targets and baselines. It routinely collects data on these indicators, compare actual results with targets, reports progress to managers, and alerts them to problems. So these are the problems that you commonly encounter, guys, which is if the deadlines are met, if the resources allocated are appropriate, if the amount of work is manageable, if the group is working effectively and efficiently. So it's just the same when you monitor and evaluate construction projects. You have to make sure that the deadlines from your program of works are all met. Then you have to also make sure that the appropriate resources are allocated. Then if the amount of work is still manageable, specifically if the scope is still within the program activities, then if the group is working effectively and efficiently, so in a construction project class, you have to make sure that the team that's working on the project, they are still getting things done. So that's how important monitoring and evaluation is. not only in community development, but also in construction as well. Then traditional monitoring focuses on implementation monitoring. So it involves tracking inputs, you have money, resources, strategies, activities, what actually took place, outputs, the products and services produced, then more on monitoring how well a project, program, or policy is being implemented, then often used to assess compliance with work plans and budget. Then you also have results-based monitoring. So it involves the regular collection of information on how effectively the organization is performing. Then important to determine whether a project, program, or policy is achieving its stated goals. So these are examples of results-based monitoring. This is the results chain. So you have your goals or impacts. Then you have the implementation, which has your outputs, the activities, and the inputs. So for the results, you ask, why should we do this? What outcomes do we expect from the investment? So you're looking into long-term widespread improvement in society, for example, or the intermediate effects of the outputs on clients. And the implementation, we're looking on what should be produced, the products and services produced, the tasks personnel undertake to transform inputs to outputs, the financial, human, and material resources that are needed. Uh, yeah, just like what I've said in the previous slides class, it's really similar to when you manage a construction project because you have to look on the financial aspect, which is the cost of the building, the human or the workers of the project, the engineers, the architects, the workers, and the material resources that are available. Okay, okay, next slide. So if the project, for example, is an eco park, you look into if it uh, gives better quality of life and well-being of citizens. Then for the outcomes, more alternative places for recreation and nature. So improve urban livability of the city. For the outputs, it could be an amphitheater, a botanical garden, gazebo, ponds, or trails. I think some of you guys made similar projects for communities as well. For the activities, you could do public scoping assessment, you do the planning and designing, the procurement activity, and then the construction. This is something that's beyond already your scope because you're still students. And the inputs that are needed is the budget allocated from the Parks and Recreation Committee, for example, in a community. If the project is a university student dormitory, the goal is to have an increased well-being of the students since it's a dormitory. For the outcomes, less distance going to school, guaranteed security of students, less hassle for students, students have better academic performance, then the output is you have the student dormitory, additional residential quarters for students and activities. Of course, when you construct something, you have to design it first, then you have to acquire the building permits, site visits, meetings with the stakeholders, designing and preparing the construction drawings. For the inputs, you need, of course, the construction materials, construction plans, the site and the land is needed, and of course, the building permits. I think this is another example. This is an ecotourism park for the societal goals, which is still under the results. There's an increased social equity, increased well-being. For the long term, you have improved urban livability of the city. For the intermediate goals, increase social interaction and healthy activities of citizens. And then for the immediate, you have increased access to healthy community facilities and amenities. The outputs, it could be an open field, botanical garden, a gazebo or pond. The activities, you have the public scoping, assessment, procurement activity, and construction. The input, you have the budget allocation from the Parks and Recreation Committee. So just remember, class, that without the budget, any project will never come into fruition. So for performance indicators, it is a variable that tracks the changes in the development, intervention, or shows results relative to what was planned. So it is the cumulative evidence of a cluster of indicators used to see if an initiative is making progress. It's normally accompanied by a measurable target, often a percentage to help quantify success. So there are different types of indicators you can use. You have objectively verifiable indicators, indirect indicators, and qualitative indicators. Then objectively verified indicators, you have quantifiable targets that usually assess quantity, quality, or time. This is the best way to assess the success of your project. Then the target should be specific, usable, measurable, and sensitive. So for example, is that the number of migrant workers returning to hometown provinces during Christmas period. So the answer is 80% of migrant workers in Metro Manila return to their hometowns during Christmas period, which increases the demand of bus transportation by 100% compared to non-holiday periods. So if you look at that class, it is quite specific because you already have a statistics involved and you have something that is quite measurable as well. Then for the indirect indicators, they assess the achievement of a target in an indirect way. So that is the straightforward definition of it. So these are indicators you can use if the outcome cannot be measured directly. For example, the happiness of the workforce. You track the number of sick days or work leaves taken by staff. There's 80% drop of staff taking sick leaves after 7 hours. Work time is implemented for months ago. So that was the example. So if you remember class, if you're in my research subject, we used a software called Code Orange to determine uh, the sentiment of text or emotions. So we added uh, numbers to something that is quite hard to measure before. So I hope you review our lesson in research as well. So qualitative indicators, so an important indicator when seeking to understand how the process of your project is being received by the community. So it gives insight into how satisfied beneficiaries are with your project, whether your project has led to sustainable behavioral changes. And it can be hard to analyze. You can still objectively use verifiable indicators, even if indicators are qualitative. For example, the number of families and the percentage of families. So this is true class, even in research, it's hard to measure qualitative data. That's why I introduced you to the software Orange in our research subject. Usually, class, I think there are more researchers that are much uh, comfortable with statistics and quantitative methods compared to qualitative methods because it's easier to measure quantitative results. So, for example, the long term, if we're looking into the improved urban livability of the city, an indicator of that would be the people's perception about the city. For the intermediate, You have the increased social interaction and healthy activities of citizens. The indicators would be the number of social events held within the park, the number of people exercising. Then for the immediate, you look into the increased access to healthy community facilities and amenities. The indicator would be the number of citizens who can access a park within a 400-meter walking distance. I think with what we really need here in the Philippines class, especially given that our climate is quite tropical and it's quite hot when you walk outside, we really need a lot of um, green areas, a lot of trees on the sidewalks. But I guess that's already discussed by your urban planning professors. Um, if you look at our subject class, look at it at the totality, it could be related to your other subjects as well. Okay, for evaluation, it takes a broader view considering progress towards stated goals, the logic of the initiatives and its consequences, done by month, quarter, or annually. So that's how you monitor. It's important to conduct after a project is completed. Of course, when you finish a project, it's really important to evaluate it so that you will know on the items on which you need to improve on. Then it allows the organization to reflect upon and analyze the collected data from the monitoring activities, analyzes what intended results were or were not achieved. You analyze specific casual contributions of activities. You examine the implementation process. You explore unintended results, provide lessons, highlight significant accomplishments or program potential, and offer recommendations for improvement. So, evaluation addresses these questions. Why? What causes the changes we are monitoring? How? What was the sequence or processes that led to successful outcomes? And the compliance and accountability. Did the promised activities actually take place and as they are planned? For the process and implementation, was the implementation process followed as anticipated and with what consequences? So this is just similar to project management class. Okay. For example, for the long term, we have improved urban livability of the city. Its indicator is that people's perception about the city. When you evaluate it and you look at it, should have this data. For example, here it's written that 80% of respondents perceive that the city has greatly improved in terms of livability, while 20% think that more has to be done. Then for the intermediate, increased social interaction and healthy activities of citizens. The indicator is the number of social events held within the park. For the evaluation, 30% recorded increase of civic organization conducting their events within the park due to the additional facilities and amenities provided to facilitate activities. For the immediate, we have increased access to healthy community facilities and amenities. The indicator is that the number of citizens who can access a park within a 400-meter walking distance. For the evaluation, there's a 50% increase in the number of people who can access a park within 400 meters walking distance compared to a year before the park opened to the public. So this is just the basic class for monitoring and evaluation. But monitoring and evaluation class is really important, not just in community development, but also in project management as well, in construction. And you could also use monitoring and evaluation to monitor also your grades or your output so that you will continuously improve. I think class that's what's really important. It's not how you began, but how you improve with the passage of time. Well, okay, so it's important that you don't give up if you commit mistakes. You just have to work harder to make sure that there is improvement. If you're familiar with the saying that you should not compete with others, you should only compete with yourself. to find a better version of yourself um, through each difficulty that you encounter. Okay, guys, I'll be posting our activity at the Padlet link. See you next meeting.